Yep.
It was second from, yeah,
Yeah.
Sorry, Alan, I didn't know you're trying to build.
I can just, let's go. I know what Larry just says.
Call the order of the North Highlands Recreation Park District regular meeting for March 12th. I need to start off by a couple things here real quick, board. In compliance with CDC, the Center of Disease Control and Prevention, and the CDPH, California Department of Public Health, the North Highlands Recreation and Park District recommends safe practices and social distancing. The district is asking the public to be mindful of social distancing recommendations from the CDPH and the Sacramento County Department of Public Health. If you're attending this meeting or a function within NHRPD building or facility, please feel free to change your seating arrangements.
Not you guys.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. And before we get into anything else, I have here, I need to add a new item to the agenda.
So moved. I'll second that motion.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So we will put that as D on our cohort. 19 will be D under new business.
Thank you.
Okay, got that one here. Get squared away here. Approval of February 13th minutes. Anything that anyone noticed was,
Yeah, the copy that Terry gave was cut off again.
How are you getting it cut off?
I don't know. You do it. Page 3. Yeah. Well, not aquatics. After that, Twin River Sports cut off, and then district
Oh,
basketball.
on
cut off.
the
Yeah. same.
right margin.
Yeah. Exactly.
oh wow.
So the route didn't work when putting those bullets.
I'll go ahead and make a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Chairperson's report? Oh, I did. Oh,
We have to vote.
I thought we did. Oh, okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Yeah, I thought we did that already.
No, we just did a motion second.
Oh, okay. Be mean to me, Terry.
She's all the time, get used to it.
I know she's got a section coming up here. Chairperson report, I have nothing at all at this time. Any fellow board members? Alan?
Yeah, I'm just gonna make one comment, since we can make comments. So, way back when, my daughter took swim lessons here, then on the swim team, and then got a job as a lifeguard swim instructor at a neighboring districts, and she could do it since I was here. She turns 31 today, so.
Congratulations.
Happy birthday to your daughter.
And I'll see her tomorrow. Good deal.
All right, and I'd like to make a comment. I attended the crab feed for the Dolphins. Excellent event. I brought a couple of friends that have never been before. They're very impressed, and yes, they do have the best crabs.
Oh, good.
So-
I'll make sure they know.
All right, thank you.
Good. Anyone else? All right. Reports from standing committee, I don't think we have any, correct? No. So Larry, administrator's report.
Just one item I'd like to point out to the board is that you have an attached invoice
from Sacramento County in the sum of $22,944.75. This represents an invoice from fiscal year 2017 and 18 and 2018 and 19. The county just got around to charging us for the park, for implementing the management of the park development fee program. And Terry had quite a few conversations with them, and correct me if I'm wrong, Terry, what they told us was this wasn't a high priority and they were just getting around to getting invoices out over 2 years later.
Wow.
So this is the fee that they charge us, just in case I didn't make it clear. They have to manage the funds coming in and distribution of the funds for the park development fee program, and they charge us for that, and this represents 2 previous fiscal years back, and I don't know when we'll get the next one, it could be 2 years from now. But anyway, Terry's you've already made the transfer.
They're trying to catch up. They're trying to go year to year, but they're working on it.
I won't repeat what I said, but
So I just have a little comment here. So do we want to maybe contact our local supervisor and say, the county's a little behind on billing here, what's the problem? You guys don't want the money?
well, I think I told Terry is that when you factor in all the county, or all the special districts that have this type of fee and program, and they all do, some larger than ours, some smaller, they could probably hire an individual to do nothing but this and still make money. But it seems kind of odd that this is from literally, what, two fiscal years ago, so, you know, that's not staying on top of things, but we gotta pay it still, and it's been taken care of.
Well, the person on the invoice that says attention to, yeah, I know that person.
That's not like it's just a couple $100.
But anyway, it doesn't come out of our general fund, it comes out of the park development fee program, so it's still our money.
It's cheaper now than it was then, so it's a good thing for us.
I don't know about that. And I also wanted to let the board know that the district submitted an application to CARPD for their facility awards for Cherry Blossom Park. I don't know how many they're going to get and if we're even in consideration, but you know, I did make it clear that it's our first park in over 20 years that we've built, and we submitted some pictures and just a brief bio of the facility, so we'll keep our fingers crossed and we'll let you know when we hear something.
No doubt. So on that same thing, have we ever sent anything for an award for CSDA?
I'm sorry, did I say CRPD?
Yes.
CSDA.
Thank you.
Now, I got all my acronyms confused here.
Yeah,
There's
no,
a
okay,
few of them.
well, that's fine.
Yes. And that conference is going to be held in May in South Lake Tahoe.
Oh, okay, it's gonna be at that, okay, not the annual.
No.
Dang it.
They're going on, man. They're gonna have them, huh?
Well,
Well,
check in tomorrow, we might have a different story for you.
When is that conference?
May.
It's canceled, everything through the end of May, it's canceled.
Oh,
The
well,
email came out today.
well, I haven't checked her emails.
I know.
Well, never mind.
Yes.
Still, if they couldn't give us the award, still just mail it to us, but if I hear anything, I will let you know.
As soon as I saw that, I'm thinking, okay, is this, how far is this going out?
That's true.
Because if it's August, then the annual conference, but
So it's not like all related conferences and,
it's anything CSDA with live people through the end of May.
well,
wow.
Yes, I won't be going this year.
68 out.
but anyway, we'll let you know if we hear something from them, besides that it's canceled. I will certainly inform you and let you know. That's all I have.
Wow, that's a long time. Scott?
Outside of my written report, I have nothing to add unless there are any questions.
I have 2.
Okay.
Those ballards are pretty hard to damage. I mean, were these, hit by cars or?
Some of them are
Or rust.
damaged. A lot of it is, over the years, the
Preventive
base.
maintenance, oh,
The
okay.
base starts to rot within the concrete, so then we just.
Yeah, you
everything
talked
out.
about that, when I saw 17, I was going, wow.
Yeah, I was playing a little bit of catch up,
Yeah.
from park to park.
Mhm.
Yeah, a lot of it is, vehicle damage or vandalism, but some of it's just, they just wear out.
Just-
so I have to replace.
Okay. Yeah, that'd be replaced. And then the other one I had was the bleachers at the future high school.
Yeah.
Was that vandalism too, or?
Yeah, that was vandalism. Someone just kind of either jumped on them or used something heavy to swing and broke one of the boards. That field gets really very little use. We haven't sent a program over there or rental in a couple of years now. And the school uses them for physical education, but they just don't get a lot of attention over there.
They said, were we gonna replace it? No? or-
We took it out just because, you know, we wanted to make sure it was, you know, safe, it was a hazard, and the school, you know, inquires about wanting to put it back. Like I said, we get very little use of it.
Okay.
I also just wanted to, I'm sorry, just point out that Sarah is not here today. She says they're gonna think I don't work here anymore because this is her third meeting that she's missed, but I explained to Alan earlier, she's attending the CPRS conference in Long Beach. A day and a half into the conference, they canceled it. So everybody's scrambling, trying to find their way home, and I was told this evening that Sarah, instead of waiting for her flight a few days from now, she's renting a car and driving back. But in God, 40 years, I've never heard of the CPRS conference ever being canceled, but I guess the attendance, from what I was told, was less than 50% of the people who signed up, which means they signed up and paid but didn't show up. And they said it was literally almost every venue you went to or every session you went to, there was a note on the door that the session had been canceled. And at some point, the CPRS decided that it might as well just cancel the whole thing. So I've never heard of it happening before, but you know what, every day now with this coronavirus, where I'm learning new things that I never experienced before, and I'm sure we'll see more as we go forward. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, no, no. So I don't know if this is a question for Scott or one for Terry. So full welcome, you know, you have it, and we appreciate that. So how much money have we actually gotten for citations so far? Do we have any idea?
We referenced, I want to say it was around $1,700, but that was 3 or 4 months ago out.
Okay.
Nothing that
I was gonna say, has there been anything lately?
Just a couple, about 30 or something dollars there.
Okay, because I noticed this month, I mean, there's virtually nothing anyway.
Yeah.
I thought there was a mistake, it was only one page.
Yeah.
Yeah, they backed off. During the winter time, they'll do that. They'll make adjustments to
Yeah,
their
that's fine.
patrol schedules, and you know, they're aware of how many hours each district has allocated. So they pay attention to that, and they purposely, you know, January and February were, well, January was a lighter month.
Right.
I think they booked for 8 hours total. We haven't seen any appreciable uptick in homeless or any problems in the parks, and if we did, they're pretty responsive to looking into those things as we report.
All right, perfect, thanks.
Okay, Rachel?
I have nothing new to report.
Sarah usually has something.
I was just curious, oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I'm just curious, you know, with all those things going on in the schools, how they're canceling like all these events. Anything on your end as far as after school day goes?
That's a special report you're gonna get tonight.
Don't
When
worry.
you get that to your agenda.
Sorry,
No,
sorry
it's
to jump the,
Twin Rivers, we have been in contact with because they do run our sports league, and they have told us that they still continue to plan to run everything for now.
We're passing that report out to you now so that you get a chance to look at it. But I'll go through, since it's new, I'll go through it in a little bit of detail when it comes around.
Yes.
When's Easter?
April 11th.
11th.
Yeah.
Get my tickets.
four.
Huh?
4.
4. I'm gonna do grandmas, yeah, it might be more this time, 6, I think. Fiscal report, anything? I'll take that as a no. Number 7, correspondence, we have none. Number 8, comments or reports from citizens, no. There. Right now. Number 9, unfinished business, we have none, so now we're moving on to new business. Item A, Resolution 587, the budget transfer request for Cherry Blossom Contingency Fund. Larry?
We can probably get used to these, you're seeing more of them than that before, but hopefully we're done with the general fund. But with regards to Cherry Blossom, you've probably heard many times from me before, it's probably gonna take 3 full years for us to get an idea of what the costs are and what the budget for. But just to show you the extremes here, last year, the water, again, we took over that part and not till April, but if you remember, it was a very wet winter last year. We were experiencing just the opposite, at least through until this weekend, I guess. But just to be on the safe side, we still have money in the budget for water, but we're asking the board to transfer $7,500 in additional funds. Also, transfer $3,100 for equipment. Remember the equipment that was stolen from the park? We did not turn that as an insurance claim. It was better for us to just pay for it. And the request to supplement other professional services, what was that, Scott?
That's the levies.
Oh, that's the levy, basically our tax for the park. So, again, we're getting a better handle on this. It still relieves a balance of approximately $17,000 in case something comes up between now and the end of the fiscal year.
I'll go ahead and make a motion to approve resolution 587 with a total amount of $13,925.
I'll second it.
I'd like to raise his hand. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Now go resolution 588.
This is the board resolution calling for the presidential election and district election for the North Highland Recreation Park District. Pedro, Zach, and Diane's seats are up for election in November, and so this requires a resolution by the board so that we can move forward.
I'll make a motion to approve resolution 588.
I'll second that motion.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
I'm sorry, who seconded that?
Zach.
Zach.
I just didn't hear it, sorry.
Okay, no problem. Opposed?
I should also mention too that all these are 4-year terms.
All right, number C, Arcade Creek. Annexation
We
information.
have to do these two or not? The notice of election?
That's all in the,
It's
all
all
in one.
yes.
Got it, okay.
And Pedro will need to, and Pat will need to sign it before the board meeting. Arcade Creek annexation information. If you remember last month I brought this to the board's attention, and I told you I would do a follow-up by asking some additional questions to the Arcade Creek General Manager, Stephen Frere, and I'm sure you've all had a chance to read through the questions and the answers, so I won't go through them unless you have a specific question. But I will say this, I was very appreciative that Mr. Frere was very forthcoming. I don't think he was, I think all the information he gave us is true and accurate as he knows it to be, and that he's not trying to sell us a used car here. He's just simply trying to tell us, you know, it's a bit of a difficult piece of property, the park, and there's a lot going on there, and I think he went to great lengths to explain to us what the challenges, what the issues are. You have my recommendation, but before we go further, I'd probably be best if I just ask any questions that you may have.
Well, the only question I have, so I'm willing to accept your recommendation, but do we need a motion or we just let it die?
Well, I guess essentially you just need to let it die because
Right,
there's
okay.
nothing really, coming before you. Essentially, I just need a nod of the head or just your verbal
No, like I
approval
said,
just to notify Arcade Creek that we thank them and appreciate this, but whenever all is considered, it just doesn't seem like a good deal for our district.
No, I appreciate the 10 minutes you put into the memo, so.
The what?
10 minutes.
Yeah, it took a little bit, but you know, it's good to get that information because if you
Oh, no,
just took things off the
absolutely.
surface value, I mean, we're deficit park acreage as it is, just like everybody is, but who would want to turn away 10 acres? I mean, that's quite a bit, it's probably what, 15-20% of our current acreage. So it's significant, yet on the other hand, I think the challenges just far outweigh the benefit to us. It doesn't mean there's not a benefit to someone out there, but I don't think I would recommend that we move forward with this. So,
Oh, well, if we're taking polls, I'm in agreement that we don't move forward.
It looked good when we originally heard about it.
Exactly, 10 acres, but the first thing, you know, it's like, first of all, what's about the property tax amount we're gonna get to help fund that, and based upon all the other issues, it's like, yeah, okay.
yeah, I think one of there's a couple of unique challenges to it, and I won't get into details, but I think the main one is, and if you've had a chance to go over there and take a look at it, it's a facility that certainly will need quite a bit of deferred maintenance. And there's just not enough positive cash flow. And I could never recommend to the board because once you take it, those funds become intermingled with all your other park funds. And you can't really say, well, that's that other one we just got, so you know it's cost too much, we're not going to pay attention to it, because I think the community's expectation would be that if they were annexed into our district, that we would probably move forward and quickly to make improvements. But to do that means we'd have to take that out of the other pot, which is already, we're struggling now to make improvements to our other park facilities, and it's just not enough cash flow. At 25,000 or 25% basically, it's just not going to do it. And if for some reason, you know, things are not looking great economically, and several years down the road, if we start seeing a dip in the property tax, then that problem becomes even greater. Yeah. So, yeah, no vote is required in the sense that just tell me that if you feel differently, I would just notify them that thank you and that we're just going to pass at this time.
That's your recommendation.
Yep, I'm in total agreement.
Yeah, I'm in agreement to pass on the opportunity.
Thanks.
Thank you, Loretta.
D, the new one we just added.
Okay, I'm going to just take a little bit of time to go through this, and maybe you've had a chance to read it. Last night, and I was unaware of this till this morning, but late last night, Governor Newsom held a press conference, I guess, and the intent to update the guidance policy for gatherings to public health and to slow the spread of COVID-19, the coronavirus. Through all the information we received, it really came down to there are three distinct policies that will help guide us and other districts and other agencies as they go forward. And one, because this comes into play as we go through this report, large gatherings are 250 and greater. And as Alan mentioned to me tonight, Disneyland and all theme parks have closed. They certainly are greater.
It's actually Saturday.
Was it Saturday? So they're much greater than 250. Small gatherings held in venues those are considered small gatherings are anything less than 250. So let's call it 249 or less. And those require, and this is really key, it says social distancing of 6 feet per person should be postponed or canceled. This doesn't mean that I have to be 6 feet away from you or from Scott. It means the size of the room. You have to look at the square footage, and then you have to look at the number of people in there. And if it's less than 6 feet, then you can still use it, but you may have to reduce some of the people in the room. So that was kind of key to us, because as staff knows, I've been working on this report all day, and the information was slowly changing, especially since, I don't know if you're aware that earlier this afternoon, Governor Newsom held another press conference today where he established an executive order. So, because there were some miscommunication or just slight differences between the CDC and the California Department of Public Health. just little nuances, and I think those were, in my opinion, those were cleared up today. But anyhow, so we look, the third one is gatherings of individuals who are at a higher risk for severe illness from COVID-19 should limit to no more than 10 people. And when you go through the descriptions and read these, what they're really talking about now is seniors, and generally seniors with underlying health issues. So earlier today, before the report was written, we knew that it's Thursday and we would have the Harvest Time program, which can fill this room at times. And I give a tremendous amount of credit to all the staff who moved quickly, and people were contacted. What's her name? I'm sorry. Lila, who runs the program on behalf of the district. She was very helpful, and they understood that there's a reason why we had to close it. I think some of them knew already. So then we started looking at other senior programs that we have. And keep in mind, this executive order that was put in place extends to the end of March. So we're talking approximately 3 weeks. However, the afternoon, Governor Newsom clarified that to say that's likely, highly likely to extend beyond March. So, but for the purposes of this discussion, we limited the things that we knew were in front of us for till the end of March. We looked at any programs that we had, any rentals that we had that would meet the criteria of 250 and above, we had none. So that was good to be able to take out sales because we had a crab feed in there. We had some other things that if they had canceled that program or reduced their numbers could have affected their bottom line and certainly would have. And it doesn't mean these programs still won't cancel. We've had, how many cancellations today? Several? Two. People who already called in and said, we're canceling. The word is getting out. So we have nothing that meets the first criteria. The second criteria is essentially all the programs that we have and all the rentals. And so we looked at those programs, and we spent quite a bit of time going through each one today, looking at numbers, looking at where the program is held, what the options were. And the reality of it is, I believe most, if not all, fall into the good category of that they're held in facilities, venues that they meet that 6-foot criteria. So I feel good about that because initially I thought we were going to have to cancel a slew of programs. But included in that particular program, as you're aware, is that we have a contractual relationship with Twin Rivers Unified School District to run the ACES program and the junior high school sports program, which is quite large. The companion piece to the ACES program is you often hear us talk about the Raccoon Club. So think about this. If you walked in the room, you would not know the difference between the kids who are in the Raccoon program or the kids in the ACES program. Same staff, same location. It's just there is a limit of number of kids that can go into the free program, but there's still a need from the school and parents to have a place for their kids. So we have the paid program, which is, when I say paid, it's just a minimal amount of money that they pay to belong to the program. So when we look at that, our recommendation is that we follow the guidelines of the school district. If the school district closes schools between now and the end of March, then those programs just don't exist. However, if they decide to keep the schools open but cancel after-school or extracurricular activities, that could affect the junior high school program. And we've seen some of this already played, as you've been following for the sports and basketball. It's happened periodically here and there. When we looked at the last item, which is the gathering of high risk, I think we've addressed that already by, we basically canceled those programs. So I feel good, except that I know that between now and tomorrow, this could all change again. And we have to be prepared that the decisions that you make tonight can also be impacted in a minor sense, or they could be blown up and we have other issues. The state has identified 3 levels of how this impacts us, and I know that Rachel was reading this today. But if I remember correctly, is if you have a death or a high number of concentration of confirmed cases, it's kind of one category. A second category is if you had one. And the third category is if right now you have your jurisdiction, your area has not been impacted. We're in that third category today. We could be out of that category tomorrow. So then things kind of, you know, I don't want to say they change, but we have to look at things a little differently.
What defines you're in that, which category you're in? You said it's the number.
Well, what it does is, it just basically means the state can come in and commandeer your facilities if they need your facilities. Even if you're a private business owner and you have a hotel, they can come and say, we're taking over your hotel and using it for a different purpose. In fact, there is a part that actually applies to you as a board, in that, and I plan on sending this out to you tomorrow because it's kind of lengthy, but all the rules and regulations that basically govern the Brown Act, they're suspending during this time. For instance, if no one wanted to come to this meeting, all we'd have to do is have one staff member here, and we could have a teleconference meeting. You could call in. So that's obviously a no-no with the Brown Act. There's certain things you have to do. Changing agendas, there's flexibility of changing agendas. There's things that we would need to do that if the public made a request to be able to view this meeting but not be in the room, we could, and again, there's some stuff we're still looking at. How do we make this happen? It wasn't going to affect tonight's meeting, we knew that. But there's different changes how it affects boards and governing bodies. And I'm going to forward that to you tomorrow, and if I have new information from our legal counsel to update you as to some of the gray area, I'll certainly do so. But anyhow, so we have this change last night. We had an update this afternoon by Governor Newsom, and I provided you with some definitions of what a gathering is. We just talked about the numbers, 250 above, below 250, and those that affect basically seniors and with those with underlying health issues. We looked at program determination, and that basically is what are the programs that we're offering between now and then. And I briefly shared with you how those are going to be impacted, if they are impacted. And I think the impacts at this point are minor, but again, I stress that could change. Luckily for us, while we don't have a lot of facilities, most of our facilities are large, and many of our programs are small. So that way, we certainly meet that criteria for the 249 and less people. Indoor and outdoor rental facilities. Let's talk a little bit about refunds. As you are aware that we have a policy about refunds that once you reserve a facility, you put your deposit down. As you get closer to your actual rental date, you have to end up paying all of your costs before that rental. And so as you get closer, you're putting more of your skin into the game, let's say, and to the district. I'm recommending, and it's in my recommendations, that we waive that, and if somebody makes a request, and this is, and again, I'm limiting this to at the end of March. The only reason is we may extend this beyond that, but I don't want someone to put this out and have someone cancel an event in July, and which later in July none of this matters anymore, and they've given up their rental. So this all applies through just the end of March, that if we get a request that they've already paid their fees or they've paid more than their deposit, that we refund them the full amount. I don't feel that the district wants to take their money when they had it wasn't their choice, wasn't their option. Outdoor facilities, generally we don't take deposits for picnic site rentals, but they pay all the money up front. I would think that we want to be flexible with that too, if for some reason, even though the outdoor events, which are interesting because a rental there or the youth soccer program that will be at Freedom Park and outdoors, they don't seem to really meet the criteria because it's outdoor space. So, but on the other hand, if somebody feels that they're not comfortable and they want a refund, then I think we should also give the picnic site rentals, as well as the gym facility rentals. If you feel differently, let me know, but I think that they've done this in good faith, and this is something that they had wasn't that they changed their mind at the last minute.
Larry, is there a reason why the 31st of March, is that just an arbitrary date?
That's just the date of it. That's what?
That was the governor's day.
Yeah, the governor just picked it through. You know what, I think, there's two ways to look at that, Pedro. It could be that, oh gee, maybe he thinks there's good news, good news will come before the end of the month. I think it's more that bad news will come before the end of the month, and he may have to put stricter guidelines.
That's what I was thinking too.
And I think he's not willing to stick his neck out too far and go too far with it, and then being unable to retract it or create a situation that is then difficult to come back from, if I can put it that way. But yeah, it is an interesting policy that goes in effect for essentially 3 weeks. So everything in this report really just take you up to 3 weeks. For instance, we know that, as Rachel mentioned, in April, we have the spring fling, the Easter egg hunt. Well, that's an interesting one, and I'm not ready to give you a recommendation on it because while it's an outdoor event, it is also one that really focuses and requires people to be confined into, even though it's a limited period of time. Anybody who's been there has looked at those parents leaning over that safety tape, telling their kids where all the candy is over here, and they're on top of each other. I think we need to take a look at that. Now, keep in mind, none of these actually, if we decide not to hold it on that date, doesn't mean it's actually canceled. We could postpone it. We could reschedule it. Things that are kind of tied to Easter might not be as effective, several weeks down the road, but I know there's tons of boxes in Rachel's office with lots of candy in it, and I don't want her to take the seals off it because we might all gain some weight here while we're waiting to decide what we're going to do. But going forward, I won't go through all this, but I think it's important that we just not stop here and to say, okay, the governor's given us this mandate and that we're going to follow it, and let's just wait till the next mandate. I sent you last Friday an email, just a brief email, and it's just stuff that came off the front page of CDC. Wash your hands, don't shake hands, if you're sick, stay at home. Well, that's kind of the beginning. I think it's really important that we start drilling down and use this time to find out what more can we do. I've talked to Scott, and he's already talked to his staff. We're ramping up the cleaning more than just at the end of the day. We want to do it. We know that when they go home at night, the building's clean, but in early morning, people are touching doorknobs, people are touching countertops. We want to clean them again. I'm not going to jump in and speak for Scott, but there'll be several times during the day that we'll repeat those types of things. I brought this little Purell hand cleaner out here. These are very hard to find. Apparently, I guess Terry, you said you found some, or?
Well, I had a box a year ago, sitting underneath the counter, and Sarah couldn't buy anything at the store, so I just gave it to her.
If we can get our hands on these and also those Clorox little hand wipes, we're going to load up on those things. We're going to place them out throughout the building, at some of our programs out of the building, put them in rooms when we have rentals, make them available. Just the things that we haven't done in the past because they haven't really been required, but I think we need to look at those. But some of the things that, again, and I'm not prepared to give you a recommendation at this point in time because we're not there yet, but in the event that we have someone that works for us that comes down with the coronavirus and maybe be short on vacation time, we do have an existing policy in place already that deals with that, but it may require us to consider modification of that policy. And I just don't want to jump the gun to do that until we see the need, because if there is an immediate need, the current policy will gain us time until we can revisit that policy. But guys, you guys read the news, you read online, you read the newspapers just like the rest of us do. This thing is something that I've never experienced in my lifetime, and I doubt you have either. And the crazy thing is, it is changing by the day. I told my wife earlier tonight, I said, 2.5, 3 weeks ago, we were talking about something's going on in China. And then it was, oh, they're flying people back in the United States. And then there's some of these things are cropping up. Then it was, well, we can't associate some of these things with people traveling. We don't know where that's coming from. And bring it all the way up to today where we've had deaths and we have cruise line people being bussed under armed guard in places. This is all less than 3 weeks. I don't know what the next 3 weeks are gonna be like. I am asking the board, in the recommendations to do several things. One is we continue to implement recommendations by CDC, and as they make modifications, we'll make modifications. That the district follow the criteria as noted in the California Department of Public Health guidance policy, which also includes the governor's mandate as they relate to district programs and services. And this includes the possibility of canceling, postponing, or rescheduling programs and services as necessary. That as I mentioned earlier, that the district refund all previously paid facility rental deposits and fees through the end of March. And I put in there, as long as the request is made 5 days in advance. I want to be a little flexible with that, but we do want to make sure that, that we don't go to have a lot of extra work in scheduling people and getting facilities set up and then people cancel at the last minute on us. But we definitely will be flexible with that 5 days. And that this be extended beyond March 31st in the event the governor extends the executive order in 2520 before the end of the month. That way we don't have to bring it back to the board as a special meeting just to extend that part of it. And lastly, to authorize the administrator to have some level of latitude to make changes or modifications to the proposed recommendations in the event additional changes are mandated or recommended by CDPH, State of California, or Sacramento County before a special board meeting can be scheduled and held. As you know, it takes a little bit of time to put a meeting together, and if something comes out and it's a real serious thing that you, and again, I don't know what that is, but it would be something that you would allow me to make a change, and certainly until you can officially deal with it at a special meeting.
So as a side note, does anybody know about the flu of 1918?
Yeah,
What
I've heard
happened?
about it, yes.
Okay, so it's called the Spanish flu, and approximately 675,000 Americans died. Now, medicine's come a long way, but
There's also a lot more Americans.
the thing about, the reason I bring it up is because it started in the winter of 1918, and during this spring and summer, it kind of went away.
He came back.
But then in the fall, it came back with a vengeance. That's when almost everybody died.
Well,
I
I'm hoping,
actually lost a great uncle to that.
I'm not a religious guy, but I'm gonna
Yeah.
make a prayer here and there that they get a handle on this thing, because, we all hear the same thing, no vaccines for 12 to 18 months. A lot can happen. If this much happened in 3 weeks, what do you think can happen in 18 months?
I know.
And, certainly from my perspective, and I know from the board's perspective, that, we have to also look at our operations here. Things are going to be affected. I have no doubt that our revenue may not reach our goals. Now, it will reach our goals and exceed our goals based on the first 50% or 59% we received for property tax. It's ahead of where we had projected. But property tax tends to lag behind up to 2 years after a financial crisis, because it just takes that long to get things reassessed and collect the property tax. It's always a little later. Recreation programs, facility rentals, the other 20-something% that we receive outside of property tax, that's going to be immediate. Again, I think it's the right thing to do, but if we refund deposits and fees for people who rented buildings, there's still a lot left in the year, and I think we could see more of those, or we see people just not renting facilities. This could apply to outdoor rentals as well. So I'm certainly aware of this, and it's something that, I don't want to say it's kept me up at night, but it's kept me up at night, because we have an obligation to our community here, and we're offering programs and services. We have staff here that, everybody wants to see things continue as normal, and it's my job to make sure that they continue as normal can be. And so, but the good thing for us, and I feel very strong about it, is that we have a healthy reserve, and we had talked about this several years ago, not thinking that this was the issue, more of just a slight decline in the economic picture, but we certainly, to some degree, have an ability to weather the storm better than maybe we could have done 5-6 years ago. And I feel good about that, but we also have to be aware of that if you don't manage that correctly, you could take that healthy reserve and make it an unhealthy reserve in a matter of a couple of years. Again, not meant to scare anybody. We'll no doubt have more conversations about this as we have meetings, but it's something that we certainly have to think about and plan now and not wait until those things happen. And I think to a large degree, this board, through its direction and guidance, has certainly helped steer us in that direction by the policies that you've made and allowing to certainly to have the reserve funds, grow. Never expected something like this. Let's hope we don't have to use much of any of those funds. But I'd rather be in our position than maybe some of the other districts that are in their financial positions. So thank you for that, because it's something that we're going to be working on going forward. So didn't mean to get off track here, but that's kind of the synopsis of the report, and we are asking the board to take some action tonight, which I went through, and if you approve that, then we will begin to move forward immediately.
So, I've been following this for a while because this sort of thing is very interesting to me. So, I've been following this for a few weeks and I've been paying attention to the numbers. And last Wednesday, so a week from yesterday, there were 115 confirmed cases. On Friday, it was 300. Monday, it hit 600. I think it was Tuesday, jumped over 1,000. And now, I just checked, we're at just over 1,700. So some scientists are saying that the doubling rate is about 4 days, the number of days that it takes for the infections to double. And that makes sense because the average person is infecting, like 2 to 3 people is what they're saying. And so that math, if you take it out, we've got 1,700 right now. We're going to hit 1 million infections in the United States about the middle of April. That's just that math. And we aren't testing nearly to the degree that other countries are. We've done less than 10,000 tests. Other countries, Italy, South Korea, are doing 10,000 a day. And the tests we do have don't even work. California, our governor just said that today. The tests that the federal government sent us did not come with all the parts, so we couldn't really use them. So our numbers are probably higher than what we think they are. So this, in my opinion, this is not going to be done in April. This is not going to be done in May. This is going to go for a while. CDC said 40 to 70% of Americans could get infected by this. That's between 120 million and 200 million. So this is not going away. This is something, I don't think Governor Newsom can say we're going to be making plans for April or May because we don't want people to freak out. That's why he's going out to March, if that's what he can confidently do and reasonably. So, do I need to stop?
Hold that thought.
Yeah.
Eject.
Larry's talking too much today. Have no idea. Guess we'll find out.
Okay.
So we kind of have to expect that we are going to get worse news, and we need to make plans based on that. So I am definitely in favor of what we have here, but I expect that we will have to do more than that, probably before our next board meeting. And we probably don't want to have our next board meeting in person. In fact, if we don't do that, it's probably a really good idea.
So just if I could tie into a little bit what Zach mentioned, I appreciate those numbers. I didn't want to calculate those. I was afraid they would say what you said. I think the other part we have to look at too is that I asked Scott earlier tonight, and he told me, I don't remember what it was, but I have not been following the stock market today, and I'm assuming it was another big.
It was the worst day since 1987.
Okay.
2,300 point loss, 10%.
So I just heard conversation the other day about if this continues dropping, how far before it hits that point where it is the crisis of all crises, financial crisis. And I mean, it seems there like it's there now, but they're saying that the floor has still got a ways to go, but not at 1,000 to 2,000 points a day dropping it. It's your math, it's probably less than 2 weeks, right?
The keys going that way.
So, You know, Zach, you couldn't have said it any better. This is not ending tomorrow, and certainly isn't gonna end when the weather gets warm. But this is something I think that is gonna consume a lot of our time. Because, you know, there are a lot of things we can do, and there's just a lot of things that are just out of our control and out of our hands. So I think we need to focus on the things that we can control, and then we need to respond to those things that are coming to us from outside that we have to adjust to. Those are things that the government, the mandates, like what Newsom did today. I'm sure that's not his first speech and presentation he's gonna have. And what you said, Zach, before, I would highly suspect, because of the rate of change, that, and I don't want to scare the board, but be prepared, there might be a number of special meetings. Because I don't think a lot of this stuff can wait 30 days. Because some of this stuff may be beyond certainly my ability to make decisions on, and I need to have a board here or by telecommunication, do whatever way we choose to do it. We need to put something in place to address these issues. You know, this is really a downer, and I don't mean it to be that way, but this is something that is on everybody's mind, and it's something we care about. I wish I could tell you more, and I wish I could give you a lot better news, but it's kind of sobering what Zach just shared with us, because I think all of us in some degree are thinking the same thing. But, you know, this is where, you know, our district needs to step up and do everything that we can, and look beyond just programs and services, and what are the things that maybe we may need to be doing in the community that just maybe really hasn't been on our radar before. You know, what are things that the public's gonna need that they can't get? You know, that, again, we may not be able to provide it, but maybe we can provide assistance, facilities, those types of things. It's scary, because there's a lot of people, especially in this community, that have the less affluent, and the homeless. They're not washing their hands after every 2 seconds. They're not using Purell. They're not having access to test kits. None of us are. But you know, those are in our community, and you know, if you ignore them, they're going to come back and it's going to bite you really hard, and you know what. So I think it's very important that. And I don't have the answers in front of me, but we look beyond what we do right now and look about what may be required of us in the future, whether we choose to do it or it's mandated on us to do it. Because I think things are really starting to change quickly. And it's not just a park and recreation district that offers programs and services and mows your park and waters the grass and provides ball fields. I think it's going to go well beyond that. And I think to our best of ability that we can prepare for it, we're going to be better off.
Well, the good news is the cases in China are not decreasing because they jumped on it. I mean, they built temporary hospitals and stuff, and their numbers are going down. It's getting worse in Europe right now.
The only thing I say to that is, do we really trust what comes out of China?
Well, no.
Or is that the message they really want to send the rest of the world, is that, see, we turned everything around? I hope they are, because maybe we can learn something.
Yeah.
But you said something earlier, Zach, I just don't, boggles my mind. South Korea is producing all these tests and giving 10,000 a day, and we can't do 1,000.
We haven't done
I mean, yeah, we haven't even done that total. So who's out there making all these test kits that are going to get it right and get them out to the people who need them?
We didn't accept the ones that the World Health Organization offered us.
I know.
Yeah, so.
They need them.
we-
Anyway, I'm sorry, that kind of wraps it up. I don't mean to.
I'm going to go ahead and make a motion to approve staff's recommendations.
I'll second that motion.
Any further discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Okay, we'll go payment of the bills. Any questions? Do I have one? An accident? Somebody got in an accident or Carol Ford?
Several weeks ago, one of our maintenance trucks was entering the parking lot at Key Park in front of the gymnasium and was rear-ended by an unlicensed driver. A young lady was dropping her brother off at school. It caused about $1,000 worth of damage to the rear bumper. We filed a claim with her mother's insurance company who paid off when we went to fix the truck, there was a little bit of more structural damage, but the reimbursement from her insurance pretty much covered the
So
cost.
he was all right though?
Staff was okay, yeah, he was going at a very
Right.
slow rate
As
of
long as
speed.
he's okay.
He nailed it pretty good though. He nailed it
Vehicles,
pretty
the
good.
values she's got?
19, unlicensed.
No, 19 unlicensed.
So, but their insurance company was pretty prompt and easy to work with.
Good, okay. Any other further discussion?
I got one other question. So it looks like we fronted the Highlander Dolphins $3,600 for crab purchases. And then we get reimbursed for that out of their profits, correct? Did that happen yet?
Yes.
Oh, sorry.
I gotta make sure she deposited it though.
Yes.
Okay.
Any other further from the
I'll go ahead and
bill?
make a motion to ratify payment of the bills for the district and for Cherry Blossom.
I'll second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, adjournment. The next regular meeting of the Board of Directors will be held on April 9th, 2020, 6:30 in the North Highlands Recreation Center, 6041 Avenue, North Highlands.
That's what we're doing.
Are we adjourned?
Adjourned.
Okay.